As predicted, the Democrats incentivizing illegal immigration, or at least protecting it, is resulting in a massive wave of African migrants trying to get the American dream. Let's before we talk about the African migrant situation and the migrant crisis, let me tell you what the American dream is. Because these people, bless their hearts, completely understand what it is. And I actually have tremendous respect for them for understanding what the American dream is. At no point, at least as far as I can tell, was the American dream to grow up in a suburb, go to college, and then get a high-paying job and have a family. The American dream was that you can be poor and there's upward mobility. There still is. The American dream was that you could work 80 hours a week, put your kids in college, and they would move up the social ladder. There are many places in this world where when you're born poor, that's the end of it. You will be poor. But in America, if you make it here, you can be a migrant, open a small convenience store, have your eventually bring your family over. You will all share a studio apartment, 5, 6 people crammed in a studio. But eventually your kids will have a middle-class life. That's the American dream. Not to be a wealthy billionaire, not to be a rock star, to just make it. To be middle class, to have a family, to have a White House and a picket fence. But at some point, young people in this country believed, and still do, the American dream was to take out massive loans, then go to college, and then you'd have a high-paying job. I'm sorry. Being born in America literally is the American dream. These migrants who are trying to come here understand what the American dream is. Their country is not nice. America is nice. When you come here, you can work hard, even if it's at McDonald's flipping burgers, and you will make a decent wage, albeit not the best based on American standards, but way better than where they come from. Isn't that a dream? Could you imagine working some really awful job doing terrible labor for pennies on the dollar? You come to America, you flip a few burgers, the easiest job you've ever had, making 10 times or more as much money. I still think we can do right by our lower income workers in this country, but it's still, for these people, they're willing to make less than minimum wage when they come here because it's more than they got in their home countries. Unfortunately, therein lies the problem. We can't just allow everyone to come in because they will displace those jobs, and it will lower wages for the people who are here. There is a legal process, and not everyone can have the American dream because there's only so much resources and the economy can only grow so quickly. I believe it is possible we can reform our immigration laws in a way that allows it to expand more rapidly by allocating towards development and infrastructure and things like that, but I'm not sure how to do it. What I can say is the Democrats don't seem to actually care about those who already live here. Not all of them, because I do like Yang and Tulsi Gabbard, but many of them. Many of them are, I pointed this out in the last 2 segments, Beto O'Rourke and Cory Booker literally campaigned in Mexico. That is not for Americans, and that will not make the American dream persist. Many people believe the American dream doesn't exist anymore. They're wrong. It does. It just requires being smart and working hard. And you can be someone who's a high school dropout from the south side of Chicago who becomes successful. Or you can find a way to actually make make your own company. One of the other problems is that you have a lot of people who aren't entrepreneurs, who don't try to make money in the economy. They try to get a job. The American dream was never to just get a job. The American dream was to make it. You can whittle little sticks into figurines and sell them on a street corner. Let's read about what's happening. U.S. Dream pulls African migrants in record numbers. There's a map here. Check this out. From Nigeria and Cameroon, they fly to Ecuador and then make their way up through Central America into Mexico and then try and come to America. They say the migrants vying for entry at the U.S. southern border are mainly Central Americans, but growing numbers from a handful of African countries are joining them, prompting calls from Trump and Mexico for other countries in Latin America to do their part to slow the overall flood of migrants. It's really funny. Many people on the left are saying that Trump wants the detention centers to be cruel on purpose. They call it deterrence. If migrants hear that you will be in squalor, you will be in a concentration camp and your children will be taken away, they won't want to come. This flies in the face of what's actually happening. Which group, which political faction is claiming things are awful? Right now, the Democrats. Ocasio-Cortez says they're concentration camps. The left is calling them concentration camps. They've flipped the narrative. And you now have migrants being told it's going to be bad by the Democrats. It's not Trump who's trying to deter them. CBP put out a video showing how nice the facilities were. If anything, this reversal is now beneficial to the migrants who think they're going to come to a facility and get crackers, a fresh glass of milk, a toothbrush, and a working water fountain with potable water. The deterrence narrative to me is just incorrect. The reality is the migrant centers are actually not very nice for the most part. Okay? And that's because Democrats obstructed. But so long as the Democrats keep defending the rights of illegal immigrants, I shouldn't say defending the rights. They certainly have their rights. Their human rights should remain intact, and they are protected under the Constitution. But so long as the Democrats promise things, promise a path to citizenship, promise health care, more and more people will come thinking, now is my chance for the American dream. It's getting worse. For a while, it was some Central American countries. Now it's spreading as far as Ecuador and even Africa. People in Africa who can fly to Ecuador are not so poor that they're in that need of, they're in that desperate, they're not desperate. Listen, if you have thousands of dollars to buy a plane ticket to fly across the world, I'm pretty sure things aren't that bad. How long would it take even an American to save up the $2,000 you would need for a trip like this, or the $3,000 you would need for a trip like this? A minimum wage worker is not going to be able to save up that money. So how do they do it? It's because America is better than where they are. They do save it up over time, and then they decide to come here to improve their conditions. Let's read on. They say as more Africans learn from relatives and friends who've made the trip that crossing Latin America to the United States is tough but not impossible, more are making the journey and in turn are helping others in their footsteps, experts say. This is from Reuters. Reuters is not partisan. They're saying straight up that when people come through this journey and they make it, it encourages more people to come. The crisis will only get worse. They say Trump's threats to clamp down on migrants have ricocheted around the globe, paradoxically spurring some to exploit what they see as a narrowing window of opportunity, said Michelle Mittelstadt, communications director for the Migration Policy Institute, a Washington-based think tank. This message is being heard not just in Central America, but in other parts of the world. Data from Mexico's Interior Ministry suggests that migration from Africa this year will break records. So you know what? I'm not going to blame Trump for being strict, but they bring up a good point. Right now, it is believed you can make it. Trump is saying he's going to crack down and shut it down. So now people are rushing full speed to come here. I don't think that's Trump's fault. Trump needs to say he's going to do it, right? What is happening is that Democrats are pushing back against him. And thus, people are thinking, imagine this. It's like Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom or whatever, whichever movie, where the thing is closing and Indiana slides underneath and grabs his hat. But now imagine, there's probably better movies for analogies. The wall comes down and someone grabs it and they're holding it saying, hurry, hurry, it's going to close. That person holding it is the Democrats. Trump is closing the door and they're running as fast as they can to get here. And the Democrats are trying to hold it open so they can get in. When people hear there's someone holding the door, they run full speed. And look how it's spreading. Look, man, I believe all of these people have a right to come to the U.S. legally. Legally is the answer. No matter where you're from, fill out the forms and do what it takes. My understanding is we don't even have a meritocracy-based system. And the Democrats have said that is unfair and racist. Other countries do. So you have to apply, and it can take a long time. But I'll tell you what, man, I have worked with people who are migrants from Nigeria. Okay? I worked for American Airlines, and there are people from all parts of the world who migrated here legally, and they were proud to have done so, and they were legal residents. Some had become citizens. It's not impossible. You can do it. You can. But the legal process is there to protect everybody and make sure the American dream can persist. These people who are coming right now in response to what's happening in our press and in our politics are exploiting the system, taking advantage of it. They're displacing people who actually want to come here legally, and they're displacing true asylum seekers. They know that they can come and claim asylum, and they will be able to stay in. One thing Trump has done to curb this is the migration protection policies, which says if you come into the country, if you come in to claim asylum, but not from a country that borders the U.S., they can place you back in the other country. So typically, the policy refers to Central American countries coming through Mexico. Trump says, okay, wait in Mexico, remain in Mexico policy. The same is true. I don't know if this applies to Africans, but I want to stress this. We'll wrap up on this story. I'll read the end. But You have to realize people who are flying across the Atlantic Ocean to try and come here are not seeking asylum. If you fly from Africa to South America, you are not in danger anymore. The left then claims, but those countries are still dangerous. Okay, great. What's your answer? Literally everyone from Colombia can come to America? It doesn't make sense. If Honduras is dangerous in general, then aren't you arguing for literally every person in Honduras to come here? It doesn't make sense. The story ends by saying, to lessen the load on Mexico, Mexico and the U.S. plan to put pressure on Central American nations to do more to prevent asylum seekers, including African migrants, from moving north. For the moment, however, more Africans can be expected to attempt the journey, and the journey is dangerous. They want to do something with their life. They feel they lack a future in their country. The journey is dangerous, and people will lose their lives, so something has to be done. I'll leave it there. Stick around. Next segment tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. The podcast will be every day at around 6:30 p.m. on all podcast platforms. Thanks for hanging out. I will see you all next time.